Welcome, John.
Hey, glad to be with you, Nadine.
And I'm going to start off here really quick because in your book, Corrupted by Fear, you spoke a lot about the COVID era in particular and how you feel that fear, not science, drove much of Canada's pandemic response. And I want to use a quote here. You have a quote. Government actions in response to COVID were undoubtedly the most egregious violations of fundamental constitutional freedoms in the 150-year of history of the country. That's a very risque, very bold statement to make. And in your book, you actually draw a lot of parallels to Nazi Germany. Now, as somebody who's been disqualified from a political party from having made that exact same comparison, that's not a very popular message to bring to the forefront. And, to quote you again, when fear becomes law, freedom becomes a crime. What did you see at the time? Because, as a chartered investment manager myself, I'm always looking at patterns. I'm always looking at trends, momentum, which direction are things going? And I'm always, you have to understand history if you're going to be in finance, especially, politics. And you have made a parallel and a comparison here that for a lot of people, they just simply missed and or did not want to acknowledge. So can you dive into that a little bit for us?
Well, absolutely. So politicians never take away our rights and freedoms without offering a nice sounding pretext of some kind. Uh, so in Russia, in during the Russian Revolution in 1917, the communists said, we've got the evils of capitalism. The workers are getting exploited, so we have to create the workers' paradise. And in order to do that, we have to burn down your churches and destroy private property and take away from parents the right to educate their own children. But there's a nice sounding pretext. We're going to usher in the workers' paradise. We're going to protect you from capitalist exploitation. Uh, Only 10 years later, we've got Adolf Hitler in Germany saying, I've got to protect you from the communists. Look at what those evil, terrible communists have done in Russia. They're suppressing religion. They're destroying the family unit. They've murdered aristocrats and factory owners. And I'm going to save you and protect you from communism. But in order to do that, I have to scrap the free elections and multiple political parties and take away your freedoms of speech, religion, association, and so on. So I'm going to violate your rights and freedoms, but it's all for a good cause. It's to stop the communists. And you fast forward 90 years into Canada, and we've got our rights and freedoms taken away ruthlessly, aggressively, viciously. It's illegal to have Christmas dinner with your own parents. It's illegal to visit your mom, dad, grandmother, grandfather in a nursing home. So these poor people are tortured by being confined to a room all to themselves for months on end. We have to put up with that. We've got businesses destroyed. We've got a massive increase in drug overdoses. We've got massive mental health harms. So you get these massive violations of our charter rights and freedoms. Well, this is for our own good. It's to protect us from a virus, even though lockdowns failed miserably. 80% of COVID deaths were in nursing homes. Lockdowns did not prevent COVID from getting into nursing homes. Lockdowns were an abject failure because fundamentally you cannot stop a virus from spreading everywhere. But the rhetoric was there, and this is backed up. You had the scary photos of dead people, dying people, sick people in a hospital, have all these scary photos on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, put out there by media. We have these highly misleading so-called case numbers based on unreliable PCR testing, which cannot diagnose COVID. You've got these allegedly very high death numbers, and so there's all the massive fear. And so the politicians successfully used fear And they're going to try it again in future, terrify, on this belief that mankind controls the climate. They're going to assault our rights and freedoms in the future to protect us from a global climate holocaust. So, yeah, it's a trend, it's a pattern, using fear to take away rights and freedoms.
And that's for me where I really want to focus, because it is a trend, it is a pattern, and it's one that's repeated throughout history time and time and time again, whether it's the Russian Revolution, whether it's Nazi Germany. You're seeing it all around the world, every government for the most part. You saw it in Australia, you saw it in Britain, you saw it in Italy. All parts of the world have done exactly this, and it's happening again and again and again. And, Alberta is in the process of, discussing leaving Canada. And, one of my biggest fears is that we actually are successful in leaving Canada, but yet we leave Canada in Alberta. And it's filled with all these, in my opinion, corrupted institutions with a corrupted, wrong thinking ideology. And how do we protect ourselves? How do we, because you and I are two people. And how do you convince enough Canadians, enough Albertans to realize that there's a price to be paid? Nothing is free. And either you have the control to make your own decisions, or you give that control to the government, which they're happy to take it.